Very important is they exhibit a very unique property called camouflaging. That is, they try to change their body color according to the environmental background. But frog is a poikilotherm or a cold-blooded animal. And very important is they undergo hibernation and estivation. Every animal wants to survive in spite of the adverse, not favorable climatic conditions. Hello everyone, welcome back to session 10 of this chapter called Structural Organization in Animals. Myself, B. Shobharani from the Department of Biology, Vidyashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence. Hope you remember in the last session, we studied about two very important animals, namely earthworm and cockroach. As you all know that for your first PU syllabus, three very important animals are included for your type study, namely earthworm, cockroach, and a very interesting animal as you see in the picture, that is the frog. So three very important animals have been included for the type study because these three animals are unique in their body structure, morphological feature, or even the body functions with various different systems. Now, like it might be the reproductive system or the circulatory system or the excretory system. So we have gone through two very important animals, namely the earthworm and cockroach. So in today's session, let us begin understanding about this very unique animal called frog, which is a very common animal where everybody would have seen this animal around us. Now let us move on to this animal study of this particular animal called frog. All of us know frog belongs to class Amphibia. As you all know that, I think you might have come across frogs on land as well as in water. So these are amphibians. So that is the reason we find them both on land and water. So they're able to live both on land as well as in water, and hence they belong to the class Amphibia. Amphibians means what? Those animals which can live both on land and water. Hence, they are called as amphibians. And I think all of us know rainy season is the best season for the frogs to breed. As you all know that frogs go to the water to lay eggs, and the male frog goes to the water and sheds the sperms on the eggs, and the process of fertilization takes place in water. And that type of fertilization is called external fertilization. I think all of us would have observed small tail with the tail-like structures called tadpoles. So tadpole is the larval stage of the frog. Larval stage of frog. Many of them mistake the tadpole larva for a fish because it will have fin-like structure. So it looks like more or less like a fish, but the tadpole is the larval stage which is having a tail, which is the larval stage of the frog. And it undergoes a very unique phenomenon called metamorphosis. As it involves a larval stage, it is having indirect development. As you have already studied, what is direct development and indirect development? If at all it includes a larval stage in the life history, it is called indirect development. If an animal does not include a larval stage in the life history, it is called as direct development. Like human beings, direct development. Like frog, fishes, indirect, because they lay eggs hatch into larva will get metamorphosed into an adult. So the transformation of larva into adult is called as metamorphosis. So a very unique phenomenon is exhibited by this frog called metamorphosis. So let us move on to the other features of this very interesting animal called frog. And I think all of us know frogs are somewhat like sticky in nature. So many of us don't prefer to catch hold of these frogs, and how it jumps. Like, there is one race where the children are, particularly in schools and schools you might have come across in pre-nursery and all, frog race. So it's a very common competition for the children, right? So because frogs jump, then moving on to the other very interesting characters, they are cold-blooded animals. What do you mean by they're also, as I said, cold-blooded, or we can also use the word called poikilotherms. There are two organs. One is called poikilotherms and the other one is called homeotherms. Poikilotherms are called cold-blooded animals. Homeotherms are called warm-blooded. But frog is a poikilotherm or a cold-blooded animal. What do you mean by cold-blooded animal? The body temperature is not constant. So it keeps on changing according to the environmental conditions. So hence the name, it is called cold-blooded or the poikilotherms. Warm-blooded animals like human beings, our body temperature does not change according to the external environmental conditions. It is constant. So we are called homeotherms or warm-blooded animals. From birds onwards, from apes onwards, the animals are called as warm-blooded animals. So frog belongs to amphibia. Why they are called as amphibia? Phylum Chordata, phylum Vertebrata, class Amphibia. And because why are they referred to as amphibians? Because they live both on land and water. Then they are cold-blooded animals or poikilotherms where the body temperature is not constant. It keeps on varying according to the environmental temperature. So they are cold-blooded animals. The body temperature varies according to the environmental temperature, hence called as poikilotherms. And a very important is they exhibit a very unique property called camouflaging. That is, they try to change their body color according to the environmental background to protect themselves from the predators, from the enemies. So that is called as what? Camouflaging. So they have the ability to change the body color according to the background to escape from their enemies or predators. Hence, you call it as camouflage. So frog belongs to class Amphibia. They are cold-blooded animals. Body temperature varies according to the environmental temperature. It is not constant, hence they are referred to as poikilotherms. And they also have a very unique ability to change their body color according to the environmental background. For example, if it is a rock, they change their color to the body color to the rock. If they are in plants, they turn their body color to green, so that they can easily not be identified by the predators, and the background and the animal will be the same color. So it is one form of escaping from the predators. As you all know, they directly don't want to be killed by the predators. So they come out with certain strategies to avoid being attacked by the predators or the enemies. And one such is camouflaging. Here you can see the beautiful picture of a frog and its body structure. So let us deal with the morphological features of this frog. And very important is they undergo hibernation and estivation. So what is hibernation or winter sleep? Whereas hibernation is also called as winter sleep and estivation is also called as summer sleep. Now let us understand these two. Hibernation and the other one is called estivation. So what is this hibernation then? Winter sleep, as I said, it is also called as winter sleep. It is a sleeping state with reduced metabolism in which some animals pass the winter months as a way of surviving from food scarcity and cold weather. Example, like we have bats, fishes, amphibians and reptiles. So what is hibernation, winter sleep? It is a sleeping state. I think all of us know animals will come across adverse climatic conditions where there will be scarcity of water, food, etc. So in that case, they undergo certain modifications where they go for hibernation, which is otherwise called winter sleep, to overcome the winter season. And in that particular season, the body will have reduced metabolism. So lesser the metabolism, lesser will be the intake of food, because there is scarcity of food and because of the cold weather. So as I said, every animal wants to survive in spite of the adverse or you can call it as not favorable climatic conditions. So in that case, they'll come out with certain strategies to overcome such harsh adverse climatic conditions, and one such is hibernation. So the frogs undergo, here you can see, it is called as hibernation and estivation. So hibernation means what? They remain closed. They go underground so that they can overcome the cold weather, because sometimes winter is so very harsh, they cannot survive, and also there is scarcity of food. So in that case, it is called as a sleeping state. What do you mean by sleeping? All the metabolic activities will be stopped. So sleep means what? Like, well, how when we sleep, almost most of the activities are ceased. So in a similar way, it is a sleeping state with reduced metabolism in which some animals pass the winter months as a way of surviving from food scarcity and cold weather. Like it might be the bats, fishes, amphibians and the reptiles. What is estivation? Estivation, as we know, it is otherwise called summer sleep. Like extreme winter, even extreme summers also will be there. And I think even that is also an extreme climatic condition or adverse climatic condition. So it is a state of inactivity again with reduced metabolism in which some animals pass the summer months as a way of surviving from scarcity, that is drought and heat. For example, the lungfishes and the amphibians. See how these animals are undergoing the extreme climatic conditions. So estivation also it is called as a summer sleep, where pass the summer months of as the way of surviving from scarcity of water. So there's scarcity of food, and because of cold weather they go for hibernation, and because of the extreme summer, that is heat, and for scarcity of water they go for estivation. So hibernation is called winter sleep and estivation is called summer sleep. So they undergo hibernation called winter sleep and estivation called summer sleep. So what is hibernation or winter sleep? It is a sleeping state with reduced metabolism in which some animals pass the winter months as a way of surviving from food scarcity and cold weather. Examples you can give: bats, fishes, amphibians and reptiles. Estivation summer sleep, it is a state of inactivity with reduced metabolism in which some animals pass the summer months as a way of surviving from scarcity, that is drought and heat. Example, lungfishes and amphibians. Now let us move on to the morphology. Who has not seen a frog? I think definitely everybody would have watched this animal, a very common animal, particularly in the garden, and particularly when it is raining. I think definitely you will come across this animal. Now let us study about the morphology of this frog. I think everybody would have seen there are different colors of frog. So here you can see the different color. Here you can see the green color. Here you can see the upper eyelid. Then there is a very important membrane called nictitating membrane external, and the ear is called as tympanum. Then it has digits. Here you can see digits ending with toes, and it has a cloacal aperture, and it has webbed feet, and it has a protrusible tongue also. Protrusible tongue. As it is mostly insectivorous, so it feeds on insects, so it stretches its tongue so that, and it is sticky, so that when the insect sits on the tongue, it retracts. So it has a retractile tongue. You can call it as protrusible and retractile tongue. Right. Now moving on to the very important features of the frog, that is the skin is smooth and moist. So the skin is smooth and moist, slippery. I think all of us know frogs are very sticky in nature. Why they are sticky in nature? Because they have a mucus secreting membrane, which makes always the surface of the body very moist. So the skin is smooth and moist and slippery due to mucus. Then dorsal body is olive green in color with dark irregular spots, and ventral side of the body is uniformly pale yellow color. So you can see the dorsal body olive green in color, and the ventral surface, the below portion, we can say it is somewhat like yellow color. Then the frog never drinks water but absorbs it through skin called hygroscopic. See, very unique. So as you know, it is in water also, as it is an aquatic animal also, as it lives both on land and water. The frog never drinks water, but the skin, the moist skin of the frog has the capacity to absorb the water through skin, and hence it is called hygroscopic. Then body is divisible into head and trunk. Here you can see this is called the head, and this region is called the trunk region. So the whole of the body is divided into head and trunk. Neck is absent. So can you observe here any neck? No, neck is not found here. So the whole of the body is divided into two main parts, that is the head and the trunk. So on either side of the eye, here you can see a membranous tympanum represents the external ear. So here you can see this is the external ear, tympanum, and to receive the sound waves. So it is very, very clever animal. It is a very clever animal. It is able to sense the sound waves. So that is because of this external ear. And I know as it lives in water also, as it is it is also a burrowing animal. It lives in burrows. So the eyelid is covered by a what you call nictitating membrane, covering membrane, lid-like structure. So whenever it opens the eye, the nictitating membrane will expand. So when it is inside, the nictitating membrane covers the eyelid. So it is a form of protection. So morphology, the skin is smooth and moist, slippery due to mucus, and dorsal body, as you know, that is the whole of the body is divided into dorsal and ventral side. So here the dorsal side is olive green with dark irregular spots, and ventral side of the body is uniformly pale yellow colored, and the frog never drinks water but absorbs it through skin called hygroscopy. Hence it is called hygroscopic. Then body is divisible into head, trunk and trunk region, and neck is absent. On either side of the eyes, the membranous tympanum is found, which is called as external ear. Then that is about the external features. So now what is morphology? As we already studied in earthworm and cockroach, the study of external features of the animal is called morphological features. Now let us study about the anatomical features. What do you mean by anatomical features? Studying the internal structure. Here you can see the beautiful digestive system of frog. Digestive system of frog. Here it includes esophagus, then stomach, intestine, rectum and cloacal aperture. Esophagus, buccal cavity, then 2, then 3, 4 and 5. So it is having a common aperture called cloaca, right? Now digestive system. Digestive system consists of the alimentary canal and the digestive glands. So digestive system consists of the alimentary canal, you can call it as the alimentary canal and the digestive glands. Then the alimentary canal is short because frogs are carnivorous. So here you can see the alimentary canal is not so very extended like the other animals where it is very short. And as we all know, frog is carnivorous, feeding on insects and other animals like small animals. So it is called as a carnivorous animal. So alimentary canal is short because frogs are carnivorous, and mouth opens into buccal cavity, as we know, that leads into esophagus through pharynx. So mouth will open into esophagus, that will lead through pharynx, and esophagus is a short tube. Here you can see the esophagus. Esophagus is a very short tube. Short tube that opens into the stomach. Here you can see the stomach, which in turn continues as the intestine, rectum and finally opens outside by the cloaca. So here you can see the cloacal aperture. From the mouth to buccal cavity to short esophagus, from short esophagus to stomach, stomach to intestine, intestine to rectum, and from there on the excretory matter is thrown out through the cloacal aperture. As we all know that they are ureotelic animals which will eliminate uric acid. So they are called as ureotelic animals. So digestive system consists of canal and digestive canal glands, and alimentary canal is short because frogs are carnivorous. Mouth opens into buccal cavity that leads into esophagus through pharynx. Then esophagus is a short tube that opens into the stomach, which in turn continues as the intestine, rectum and finally opens outside by the cloaca. Then liver, as we all know, here you can see the liver. Liver secretes bile that is stored in the gallbladder. Just like human beings, even liver secretes bile juice, and you know the gallbladder is called as a storing organ. So the liver that is produced, the bile juice that is produced by the liver is stored in the gallbladder. Then pancreas, as we know, here you can see the pancreas. Right, here you can see the pancreas. It's not shown here, but there is pancreas. A digestive gland produces pancreatic juice containing digestive enzymes. Food is captured by the bilobed tongue. So it has having a protrusible bilobed tongue. So the tongue is bilobed. It will be like this. So it is bilobed. And you know it is sticky. Bilobed, it is, tongue is bilobed and sticky also. What do you mean by sticky? So that it is somewhat like sticky. So when the insect sits on it, it cannot escape from the tongue and immediately it retracts. Food is captured by bilobed tongue, and digestion of food takes place by the action of HCl and gastric juice secreted from the walls of the stomach. Just same like the process of digestion that takes place in the digestive system of humans. Similarly, the digestion of food takes place by the action of HCl. As you know, it is produced by the gastric glands found on the stomach, walls of the stomach. Then partially digested food in the stomach is called chyme, same like the digestion in human beings. So the food that is digested in the stomach and with that which moves on to the small intestine is called as chyme. Then chyme passed from the stomach to intestine through the duodenum. So from the stomach it passes on to, so from esophagus to stomach, stomach to intestine, and the undigested food is stored in the rectum and thereon thrown out through the cloacal aperture. So liver secretes bile that is stored in the gallbladder. Pancreas, a digestive gland, produces pancreatic juice containing digestive enzymes. Food is captured by bilobe tongue. Digestion of food takes place by the action of HCl and gastric juice secreted from the walls of the stomach. Then partially digested food in the stomach is called chyme. Then chyme is passed from stomach to intestine through duodenum. Then I think all of us know forelimbs and hind limbs. So forelimbs and hind limbs help in swimming, leaping and burrowing. As we all know, frogs leap, they jump. That is why I said there is one race for a small children called frog race, right? So frogs and hind limbs help in swimming, as you know. It also has webbed feet so that it can swim in water. Then forelimb have 4 digits and hind limb have stronger and has 5 days. So forelimb has 4 digits and hind limb has 5 digits, which is stronger and which will help in leaping. Then frog exhibits sexual dimorphism. What do you mean by sexual dimorphism? That is, sexes are separate. Sexes are separate. So easily you can differentiate a male frog from a female frog. So how do we distinguish? So male frog distinguished from female frog having sound producing vocal sac. So male frog will have the sound producing vocal sac to attract its opposite mate for a reproduction. And copulatory pad also is found in case of males. So copulatory pad, or it is also called amplexary, on the first digit of the forelimb. So forelimbs and hind limbs help the frog in swimming, leaping and burrowing. As I said, even frog is a burrowing animal. Forelimb have 4 digits and hind limb is stronger and has 5 digits. Frogs exhibit sexual dimorphism. Male frog is distinguished from female frog having sound producing vocal sac. Copulatory pad or amplexary on the first digit of the forelimb. I had a very wonderful experience in my research to do research on this particular frog, particularly a freshwater frog called Rana cynoplectus. So the study what I have made on this particular animal frog is really wonderful, and I have gained a lot of knowledge by studying this animal. I worked on the pineal gland of this interesting animal called frog. Then the duodenum. Here you can see the intestine. The first part of small intestine is called duodenum. The duodenum receives the bile from gallbladder and pancreatic juice from pancreas through a common bile duct. And all of us know, like how we have studied even in human digestion, the digestive system, bile emulsifies fat. As you know, fat originally cannot be digested and the process of digestion of fat is slow. So first it is emulsified and that process is done by bile juice, which converts the complex fat molecules into smaller fat droplets, which is easy for digestion. So bile emulsifies the fat and pancreatic juice digests carbohydrates and proteins. Final digestion, just like human digestion, it takes place in intestine, and digested food is absorbed by villi, the finger-like projections of the intestine, and microvilli. Then the undigested food is removed to the outside through cloaca. It is stored in the rectum and it is thrown through the cloacal aperture. So the duodenum receives the bile from gallbladder and pancreatic juice from pancreas through a common bile duct, and bile emulsifies fat and pancreatic juice digests carbohydrates and proteins. So final digestion takes place in the intestine. As we all know, the final climax of the process of digestion is finally in the intestine. So digested food is absorbed by intestinal villi and microvilli. So the undigested food is removed to the outside through cloaca, which is a common aperture. Hope you have understood the concepts what I have explained in this particular session about the type study of frog. Now in the coming session, let us study some more very interesting systems of this wonderful animal called frog. Till then, goodbye and thank you.